The Derby County Forum is linking Derby County with a couple of players in that left-back position, as well as a player from Colchester United. Now, the two left-backs are named James Maxwell from Doncaster Rovers and Harry Amass from Manchester United. Now, both of these players are both left-backs. James Maxwell is currently 23 years of age. He'll be 24 in December, and Harry Amass is 18 years of age. He'll be 19 next March. Now, obviously, when we look at both of these players, the intention would be, in my opinion, to replace that of Craig Forsyth and maybe that of Callum Elder as well. And it obviously opens up the door for some younger bodies in the squad, which I personally do not have a problem with. Now, in my opinion, James Maxwell will obviously be what we'd look at as a permanent deal, and Harry Amass would probably be a loan contract for the upcoming season. Now, obviously, when we look at these players, we have to acknowledge Harry Amass, 18 years old, not necessarily played a lot of senior football, a bit similar to that of Harrison Armstrong. And with James Maxwell, 23 years of age, he's played a bit of senior football, 92 games for Doncaster Rovers so far in his career, so would certainly be a player who could potentially make that step up straight into the field. Do you want to win yourself the brand new Derby County 2025-26 home shirt? Well, I'm here to give you an opportunity to do that. There will be a link down in the description where you can head on over to raffle.com to join a raffle where you can win the Derby County home shirt. Ticket prices start at just £1 with a range of different discounts available. You can buy 2 tickets, get 2 free, 5 tickets, get 5 free, 10 tickets, get 10 free, and 15 tickets to get 15 free. The intention with this is to give you guys the opportunity to win a Derby County shirt for less than the valued cost in the shop. So if you haven't done so already, head on down to the description, click on the link in the description, which will take you over to raffle.com, create yourself an account, answer the question, and join this raffle. The winner will be announced on August 1st at 6 p.m. as the transfer window begins to draw to a close. So if you haven't done so already, head on over there and get your tickets. First team. Now, let's take a little bit of a deeper look into James Maxwell. We'll go a little bit deeper in a video tomorrow, looking at both of these players individually. But James Maxwell, 23 years old, 1.79 metres tall, obviously, as I've mentioned earlier, a left-back. He's played 3 times for Scotland's under-19s and is currently valued at £200,000 as per transfer market. His contract expires in June of 2026, which is just a year away. Now, over the course of this season so far, he's played 24 games for Doncaster Rovers in League 2. I believe they ended up getting promoted. Also made 3 appearances in the FA Cup, taking his total to 27 games for the season, with just 2 assists, 3 yellow cards, and 1,846 minutes. Now, he played across the course of 2 different positions, left back and left wing back. He made 18 appearances at left back, 5 in left midfield, and a couple of the others would have been substitute appearances, which don't get counted towards the positional chart. Now, obviously, the important thing when we're looking at someone like James Maxwell is to sort of go, at 23 years old, has he shown enough in his career in order to be able to make that step up to obviously Derby County senior side, which is in the Championship. Now, Doncaster Rovers, I believe, will be in League 1 next season. I will just go and check just to make sure. But if we go and look at League 2, they got promoted top of the league, as I expected, as I believed. And for me, do I believe that Doncaster Rovers are going to be okay in League 1 next year? I certainly do. And Maxwell seems to have been sort of their starter in that position. Now, it is a very interesting one to take a look at. If we look at Doncaster Rovers defensively, 50 goals conceded last year. Obviously, that's not all solely down to Maxwell, which is obviously something which has to be acknowledged as well, but it's certainly something which does need to be addressed. If we look at the team from a defensive standpoint, goals conceded per match, they were 8th with 1.1 per game. If we go to clean sheets, 13th, 13 per game, which is obviously... he is involved in that, obviously. As a defender, that's something which you have to acknowledge and accept as a defender, that you have that responsibility of obviously trying to keep the ball out of the back of the net. If we go to interceptions per game, obviously Doncaster Rovers were a team which sort of had more of the ball than other teams. If we go to average possession, they ranked 7th in the league for that one. So if we go to interceptions per game, obviously you've got to acknowledge that they were a team without the ball, with the ball more often than not, so 6.6 per game. Successful tackles per match, 9.8 per game as a team. Obviously all these are Clearances 28.7, goalkeeper saves per match 1.9. But the interesting one for you guys to look at, in my opinion, is sort of the XG that Doncaster Rovers conceded last year. It was 41.1 across the course of their League Two campaign, which is the lowest across the course of the division, which in my opinion sort of shows that that defensive unit had very good solidity. And if you sort of look at Derby County towards the back end of the season, we were certainly very good on that defensive end, and obviously a player like Maxwell could be able to sort of add to that as well, which is obviously going to be very, very interesting to see. Now, if we look sort of directly at Maxwell himself in sort of a defensive standpoint, which is obviously sort of what we want to do, we sort of go here: successful tackles 1.6 per game, leads the way at Doncaster Rovers. 1.8 interceptions, leads the way. If we go to where else could he pop up, he has conceded one penalty, which obviously isn't something which you want to be looking at. If you go to fouls conceded, he's not in the top 3. Yellow cards, he's not in the top 3. Obviously red cards, he isn't as well. But it's one of those where I think he leads two of the most important charts for me, in that of successful tackles and interceptions, and that's obviously something which is going to be massive for Derby County next season in that defensive standpoint. And he obviously slots right in to that point of where he could be sort of that real important figure heading into sort of a championship campaign where he's the starting left back, for example, potentially at Derby County. Now, obviously, whatever happens, there is sort of the chance that he could potentially turn around and want to stay at Doncaster Rovers. These things do happen where players know the best chance of football realistically is staying with the club they're at. But obviously, you never know what could happen there, and you could see Doncaster Rovers bring in a new left back, or potentially find someone who maybe is better in that position in their opinion, and that's obviously something which would need to be addressed by Maxwell. And that's something why, if this offer is put on the table, I would personally anticipate Maxwell to take the offer, because why would you turn it down, in my opinion? Because a move from League Two to the Championship, in my opinion, it is a big jump. I'm never going to turn around and say it isn't, but you look at a player like Ibu Adams, stepped up from Forest Green Rovers to Cardiff City, didn't get the opportunity. Then last season for Derby in the Championship was absolutely unbelievable. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to turn around and say that he's an absolute world beater, but he's certainly very good at what he does, and that's obviously what you need from a player. Now, could I see Maxwell joining Derby County as a left back signing for this summer? I genuinely could, if I'm completely honest. I'm not going to say that I think the move makes a ton of sense. If you look at what Derby County need in the squad, they need more championship experience, they need more quality within the building in order to move forward, but we also need to drop that average age as well. And I think if John Eustace believes in James Maxwell, then I certainly do too. So obviously that's something which we'll have to address across the course of the next few days. But for me, I certainly do believe that James Maxwell could do it. Now, if we take a look at his career as a whole, 172 appearances in senior football, 13 goals, 14 assists, 17 yellow cards, 1 red, with 13,014 minutes. He's been very versatile across the course of his career, mainly playing in left back and left wing back, but has also played on the left wing. He's played at right wing back, and he has played a couple of times through the middle in that holding midfield role, as well as sort of a number 8 type role, as well as playing at centre back. Although in my opinion, I wouldn't want to play Maxwell in that centre back role unless it was sort of as a left centre back, to be completely honest with you. Now, obviously, you can let me know your thoughts on Maxwell down in the comments. If you have not done so already, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts down there. Turn on the notification bell. Shall we take a bit of a look into Harry Amass? Now, Harry Amass is a player who would potentially be joining Derby County from Manchester United. It looks as if it would be a loan deal. Now, obviously, with him being just 18 years old, there's not a great deal of data to look into, but he has made his debut for Manchester United's senior team, that being in the Premier League as well as in Europa competitions. And that's obviously really important to note when we look at a player like Harry Amass, because there's obvious quality there, and that is why he's been given the opportunity to play for Manchester United senior team at such a young age. Now, he's contracted at Manchester United up until the summer of 2027. He's currently valued at £5 million, and he's made 7 appearances for England's under-18s. Now, and I believe he's probably with England's national team right now in regards of the youth teams, but don't quote me on that one, I'm not entirely sure. Now, again, a left back, stands at 1.81 metres tall, was apparently born in London, but I don't necessarily think that's relevant. And if I haven't mentioned already, is contracted until the summer of 2027. Now, obviously, this deal, I think it's quite obvious that it would be a loan deal for the fullback to give him that option of extra football and first team football. And if you look at how Derby County handled the move with Harrison Armstrong last season, Harrison Armstrong was absolutely phenomenal and fundamental to Derby County staying in the Championship last season. And I think that's always sort of big to look at, because when you're sort of an academy manager and you're looking at where you could send a player and who they could go and play for, you want to know that they've got a record of not only developing young talent but giving youngsters opportunities. And I think that's a problem that Derby County faced a few years ago under the likes of Paul Warne, because in my opinion Paul Warne didn't often give youngsters the opportunity, and it sort of was one of those situations where he'd happily have youngsters in the squad, but whether they'd play or not is a completely different conversation. And now when we look at Harry Amass, if you look at how John Eustace handled Harrison Armstrong, if you look at the introduction of the likes of Charles Abuka, Lennon Wielden, I think Owen Eames was on the bench at one point, Cruz Allen as well under John Eustace's tenure. And now obviously you've got to make sure that the players are good enough before you give them the opportunity. And from my time at Derby County, I know that some of these loan players, that before they actually sign on the dotted line at a club, they will go and have a couple of week trial. Now obviously with it being June, they can't obviously do that at the moment, but I know that Lewis Dobbin had been at Derby County for a few days before it was actually announced to the public, because he was essentially checked over by the likes of Liam Rossini, the likes of the coaching staff. I believe Justin Walker was still there as well at that time, and obviously that's really important that you have the right sort of players within the squad. And when you bring in a player, they're not sort of in that position where they're going to get essentially sort of left on the bench 24/7 and not actually given the opportunity to play football. Now, if we take a bit of a deeper look into Harry Amass so far in his career, he's made 5 Premier League appearances, he's made 2 appearances in the Europa League, so that's 7 senior appearances at this point in time, but he's also made appearances in the Under-18s Premier League, Premier League 2, the FA Youth Cup, UEFA Youth League as well, and obviously the EFL Trophy, where he would have played for Man United's, is it the Under-23s that play in that competition? Now, he's most notably played across the course of left back and left wing back, or left midfield, whatever you want to consider it. He's made 19 appearances at left back based on the data from youth and senior football, 5 in left wing back, with 4 assists to his name. Now, he didn't come from Manchester United. His start to life came from Watford, and he made that move to Manchester United afterwards, if I remember correctly. And it's one of those for me where I think he could be a very, very good player. I think at the moment with a player like Harry Amass coming to join Derby County, is you've obviously got to open the door to the conversation of maybe he's not going to get as much football as maybe he desires. But if you look across the course of last season, obviously playing 7 times for the senior team of Manchester United, if he can come into Derby and make 20, 30 appearances, whether that be starts off the bench, I think that'll be really good for him. And obviously Championship level football is obviously really good, and obviously we know it would be a loan deal, and obviously would be sort of in that sort of contention for backup for the likes of Callum Elder, Craig Forsyth when he eventually signs his new contract, Ben Osborne in that left back position as well, and obviously can play left wing back as well. And I think he would then get the nod above sort of a Craig Forsyth in the sense of his age group and things like that, because obviously being 18 years old, he's going to be able to get up and down that wing a lot better than someone like Craig Forsyth. Now, Craig Forsyth may have the experience and that sort of tactical edge over Harry, but ultimately I think when you look at someone like Harry Amass, you're not bringing him in to sort of be that player to see out a game. You're bringing him in as a player who's going to be able to show you exactly what he can do and the potential that he's got. And he's not going to be the finished article, he's not going to be the end product, and he's not going to be that player that ultimately makes you a promotion winning side, in my opinion. But he will be a player who shows you the quality of youth and the naivety of youth, in my opinion. I believe I have watched him a couple of times when it comes to him playing for Manchester United, and I always think when it comes to defenders, if you don't know their name or you don't have to think about who they are, they're doing a good job. That's my personal opinion. Because if they're not involved, they're not getting beat by their man, they're not losing tackles, they're not losing the ball, and you've not got to worry about them. That's the exact type of defender you want in your team. And when at Derby County we sort of look into that, you look at a player like Matt Clark, Craig Forsyth, Nat Phillips, obviously this season. In my opinion, you don't sort of have to think about them. They do their job. They win their headers. They win their duels. They don't really mess up in possession. They're the sort of players that you want in your team because it's comfortable. It's consistent. You know exactly what is coming from that sort of play. You know exactly what is coming when they are being sort of in a one-on-one battle, maybe a 2v1 battle with winger and fullback coming against you. You know what you're going to get. You know what to expect. And obviously, that's something which we sort of need this season is players who you know what you're going to get. Now, I think with Harry Amass, you don't necessarily get that, but you do get that sort of youth energy, which I think is really important for a side, especially a side like Derby County, who, if you were to look at our squad last season, I think we had one of the highest average ages in the league, and that's certainly something which needs to be dropped. And I think with an introduction of Harry Amass, we certainly could do that. Now, some people might turn around and go, well, why aren't we giving someone like Tristan Gill or a left back from our academy, maybe an Isaac Gordon, a Case Gordon, why are we not giving them the opportunities to sort of see if they can prove themselves in the first team before we start looking at 18-year-olds from elsewhere? And yes, I do agree. I think Derby County should start to look at their youth prospects a lot more than they currently do, but that's obviously something which will have to be looked upon over the next few months and obviously over the course of this year, where I think John Eustace will have a much better sort of go ahead with that than we did under the likes of Paul Warne. But you can obviously let me know your thoughts on that down in the comments. If you have not done so already, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. There will be a full video tomorrow discussing Harry Amass on his own. There'll also be a video discussing James Maxwell as well. So if you have not done so already, make sure you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and I'll catch you tomorrow in a video about both players. Do you want to win yourself the brand new Derby County 2025-26 home shirt? Well, I'm here to give you an opportunity to do that. There will be a link down in the description where you can head on over to raffle.com to join a raffle where you can win the Derby County home shirt. Ticket prices start at just £1 with a range of different discounts available. You can buy 2 tickets, get 2 free, 5 tickets, get 5 free, 10 tickets, get 10 free, and 15 tickets to get 15 free. The intention with this is to give you guys the opportunity to win a Derby County shirt for less than the valued cost in the shop. So if you haven't done so already, head on down to the description, click on the link in the description, which will take you over to raffle.com, create yourself an account, answer the question, and join this raffle. The winner will be announced on August 1st at 6 p.m. as the transfer window begins to draw to a close. So if you haven't done so already, head on over there and get your tickets.